Lincoln Council to order. And I would ask you to please rise for the national anthem. Would you please remain standing for a moment of silence for the victims of the Humboldt Broncos fatal bus crash? Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome, everyone. All children get to stay up a little later, even though it's a school night. Thank you for coming, children. The first item on the agenda is roll call, and we have Councillor Timmers and Councillor Thompson who have sent their regrets. On my far left is the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Diane Regima. To her right is Councillor John Pachariva and Councillor Wayne McMillan. To my right is Councillor Rob Foster, Councillor Tony Brunet, and Councillor Paul McPherson. On my left is Mr. Mike Kirkopoulos, the CAO, and to my right is Julie Kirkolas, the clerk of the town and the head of corporate services, corporate and legislative services. We also have Carrie Beattie on the far right. Carrie is the Senior Communications Advisor. To her left is Dave Graham. He's the Director of Public Works. That's where all the snowplows are, just in case you didn't know. And then we have Shannon McKay, who's the Acting Director of Community Services, and Kathleen Dale, the Director of Planning and Development. So thank you, staff, for coming. And we also have Dr. Valerie Yeager here. Dr. Yeager was the medical officer of health at the region of Niagara. She's doing some contract work for us on community and population health, so we welcome her. And we also welcome John Brown, who's the head of IT. Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Nchima.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I have two declarations under the planning agenda report later on tonight. Number one is agenda item 13A, the Planning and Development Committee minutes of April 9th, 2018. The applicant in report 1821, Phelps Homes, is a client of Niagara Planning Group, my employer, so I will not be participating in that decision. And also under the same report tonight, 13A, item 15B, bylaw 2018-26, a bylaw to adopt official plan amendment number 3, Prudhomme's secondary plan. My employer, Niagara Planning Group, acted on behalf of the property owners at 3900 North Service Road, also known as the Lake House Restaurant, as they had questions related to their property's designation under the Prudhomme secondary plan official plan amendment. So I won't be taking part in that, and I will be leaving the room.
Thank you. And Councillor, you filed your papers with the clerk, I take it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you very much. We move on then to confirmation of agenda. Do any members have any changes to the order of business as circulated? There being none, the agenda will be accepted as circulated. And we move now to the adoption of the previous council minutes, and we're looking at the minutes of council's regular meeting of April the 3rd, 2018. I have a motion that's moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor Brunet that the minutes of the April 3rd, 2018 regular meeting of council be adopted. Are there any errors or omissions? There being none, your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? There being none, we'll move on to the Infrastructure Committee minutes of April the 11th. Chair Brunet, would you care to provide highlights of the meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Easton. The following are highlights regarding the minutes of the Infrastructure Committee held on April 11th, 2018. Committee received one delegation that evening, the Commissioner of Public Works, Ron Tripp, as well as Director of Transportation, Carolyn Ryall, were in attendance, and they spoke to the committee about a number of initiatives that have been planned for some time, as well as upcoming events that are in the capital budget over the next few years. Some of the items that we've talked about at this council, including the work in downtown Vineland, the upcoming work for the EA that just got approved for Jordan, Regional Road 81 from Durham Road to the roundabout, and how that is going to be possibly impacted by the new high school being built on Regional Road, and how 81, and how we might have to speed things up. So there was a number of discussions. We had a number of residents in attendance that evening, as well as some members of the Active Transportation. So it was great to see the number of interested people that came out. It was not a public meeting, so we did not talk about specific items, but there have been lists sent from Active Transportation, as well as the Infrastructure to Committee by Director Graham to Commissioner Tripp, and we hope to hear back on some of those initiatives and some of the concerns. And one of the main things that was a resounding theme that evening was truck traffic, and how we need to get truck traffic off Mountain Street and our downtown streets coming into our corridor. So I think if one thing was accomplished that evening is that Commissioner Tripp and Director Ryall left here understanding that truck traffic is priority number one for this council. Committee also received two reports that evening, PW 18-11, the Conkle Creek Naturalization Phase 1 project tender results, and a second report, which was PW 18-12, 2018 Capital Road Resurfacing and Road Rehabilitation Program. Full details regarding the meeting can be found in the agenda and on the minutes published on the town's website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Councillor, for following along with me, even though that I was reading from the wrong page. So thank you for your report. And I would ask then if Here, I have the motion here, so I'll read the motion. I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet and seconded by Councillor Foster that the minutes of the April 11, 2018 Infrastructure Committee be adopted as circulated. Any questions to the motion? Foster?
It's going to be one of those nights, I think.
Yeah.
Just a quick comment to the Director of Public Works, and actually, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend this particular meeting as I was out of town, but we've had some fascinating weather this year, and it's affected our roads quite substantially and differently than we may have seen in the past. I did pass a comment back through to Dave about some of the interesting breaking up of roads that we are seeing. Green Lane is a good example that has used the cut technology that we've done, but it seems there's ribbons of holes that have come into the road. So I would like to see, some analysis after this as to, what some of the problems are that we've seen with this, just so that we are continuing along with the right methodology of refurbishing our roads. So
That's all right.
anyway, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Pleasure on the motion. Thank you. Motion's carried. All right, now we'll get back on track again. I'll be on the right side of the page. I'll move on then to the mayor's report. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and youth of the town of Lincoln. And I speak to you also through Cogeco this evening, but it is very nice to have an audience, so thank you very much for coming out. This is Volunteer Week from April the 15th to the 21st, and throughout Lincoln there will be many speeches and awards given, celebrations of things accomplished. And many such will be at Albright Manor and at Rose Cottage Volunteers, McNally House, at the Heritage Village, the Seniors Clubs, Beamsville and Vineland, or Beamsville and Jordan Lions. And we also have Scouts and Brownies, we have the Lincoln Leapers, all who thrive on the dedication of volunteers, as do our faith groups and churches. And we also have representatives of Niagara West Adult Learning Center who survive with volunteers, and we'll be hearing from them later. Tonight, we acknowledge all volunteers in Lincoln who make up that national statistic that 1 in 3 Canadians volunteer in their communities. Tonight, we also have a few leaders of Lincoln Minor Hockey with us, and it's very fitting that we publicly recognize the hundreds, I would say thousands, of volunteer hours year over year that they and all the other coaches contribute to and are dedicated to the leadership of Lincoln Youth. And also, the team accomplishments for the Lincoln Blades are always worth talking about. And I was going to try and get a list, but really, I think the personal accomplishments of every young skater that's out there, and then for those that are lucky enough to go on and win a few trophies along the way, we really must thank you all. And I think you've got a pretty nice arena to play in, so that helps as well. The mayor's message this evening will consider community loss and recognition, public safety, youth programming, and road maintenance. As you can see, some of us are wearing sports jerseys to acknowledge the loss of 16 members of the Humboldt, Saskatchewan hockey team who were seriously injured and died while traveling to a game over a week ago. The funerals of those children and their team coaches continue throughout this week. It's hard to imagine what it would be like to live in a community and attend 16 funerals over a period of weeks. It's not difficult to calculate the loss to each family, as well as the physical, intellectual potential, and emotional loss to the community. We've heard some pretty amazing stories about a pretty amazing team. Of course, all their aspirations and dreams are lost. We can only imagine the pain those families are experiencing, and they will forever. And for the family and for the truck driver, they should also be given our thoughts, because he lives to survive a lifetime of regret. So to the community of Humboldt and the Broncos, we send our heartfelt condolences from the town of Lincoln. My next area of community concern is closer to home. It relates to what Councillor Foster and Councillor Brunet were speaking of earlier. And it's what I characterize as having a safe community and safe downtowns. And what I'm referring to is the high risk that anyone who walks or drives in the commercial areas of Beamsville and Vineland experience because of the lack of control over excessively oversized trucks who have no local business purpose in many cases, yet interfere with traffic in the opposing lanes at Mountain and Ontario Street in particular. Last week, we entertained the Commissioner and Region of Niagara Roads engineer to discuss all of the public safety, environmental, and traffic violation issues that continue to prevail because of the increasing numbers and excessive size of trucks traveling on Mountain Street and King Street Regional 81. This is a focus of mine and of this council's, and while we will continue to support goods movement and appropriate traffic, we will do it if it means making our downtowns, we will not do it if it means making our downtowns less safe. You will continue to hear more about this. We will continue to focus on it as we enter the spring and summer months. In fact, we have been working on this for the last 4 years. Our conversation with the region also included a variety of important capital works projects as well as the expected start dates. But I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that although maintenance is very important, part of the work of council, and we have improved the service, and part of the work of council, and we have improved the road surface conditions in Lincoln by 11% in this term alone. You have set an expectation for road, bridge, and culvert improvements. We are responding with the required investments year over year. However, the environmental issues, as well as quality of life impacts, and most important, public safety, are equally important, and it is in this area that we are pressing to make progress. The work is incremental, and it requires vigilance. We have made some progress with improved signage on Mountain and Victoria. We find the Truck Blitz program also an effective team effort with MTO and Niagara Regional Police. As well, the road safety monitoring and speed program has decreased risk around schools. Internal streets have had speeds reduced, and speed humps are reminding the careless to make a full stop at stop signs and to slow down. In the near future, you will see signs identifying truck routes and local deliveries only. We are seeking the return of the parking spots on King at Mountain to limit passage on King Street in the core of Beamsville to trucks of a certain axle. Enforcement through bylaw will be stepped up. I will also be asking council to consider exploring how we work better with the police services, and I know that other municipalities are looking at models where they use off-duty police officers as well. Trucks that cannot negotiate corners without traveling up on sidewalks while interfering with the orderly movement of traffic in the opposing lanes present daily extreme risk. As mentioned over the last number of months, we will approve the placement of public safety devices at Mountain and Ontario as well to make it more difficult for trucks. We understand the value of the trucking industry to our economy, but circumstances must be reversed to put public safety first. We hope that we made our points with the Commissioner and that agreement will be forthcoming from the region. We will be meeting again soon. And I hope that you also have something to say about this. The final decisions will be left to Council, but your voice is essential to finding new solutions. Remember the loss of life due to a single accident. So please message me, seaston@lincoln.ca, or call 905-563-8205 with your suggestions. And in fact, this afternoon while I was writing this missile, I had an email from a gentleman in Jordan who could have been writing this. I think he had the points in terms of what we've been doing just about down pat. This discussion about public safety is going to become even more important as council and staff implement a number of expectations that you have contributed to relating to the mission, vision, and value statement of growing, prospering, and belonging. A sense of belonging in a community starts with being connected. We heard this from you overwhelmingly in a variety of community consultations last year. Connecting communities also includes those things that ensure public safety. Otherwise, all our efforts will be thwarted by a lack of attention to a safe environment, and we will just give way entirely to our goals for cycling routes and walking paths and trails between our internal communities and throughout our natural heritage features. We are building this aspect of town programming as well, and this includes the connection of our youth who are searching for counsel and staff leadership in response to what is important to them. Not only have we appreciated your time in public meetings and roundtable discussions, but you have also told us to stop talking, get on with the program, and that's what we're doing. As a few examples, we have movie nights in Serena Park and at the museum for all ages. Ratatouille was playing on Saturday night, if anybody could get there in the ice. There are also opportunities to volunteer or work at our camp and pool programs, special events like Miracle on King Street and Homecoming and Pioneer Day. And one very important new venue is the skate park, which has youth involvement in the planning stages and which you will hear more about very soon. Skate Park has been very long coming, but we think the design will satisfy the broadest range of ages and equipment, and we have one of our very important service clubs interested in supporting it. We have robust 12-month programs for all ages at both the Fleming and Rittenhouse libraries, and don't forget about the summer reading programs, and don't forget about the Literacy Center on Beam Street. One of Lincoln's heritage gateways at the temporary museum on Beam Street also has volunteer positions. Learn about the people and the history of your town. Make your own family history at the Lincoln Archives located in Vineland. And if you're new to Lincoln, connect your history here. Who knows where those connections might lead? The U-Link Transit pilot is helping youth move around our community for the first time in decades. This should be a great summer for young people as transit is free during the pilot and there is room for skateboards and bikes. We're still working on refining the routes and schedules, but it is a good start, particularly with new programming on the horizon this summer. Let's make sure that our roads are safe for an increasing number of our precious children moving around and just having fun with their friends or getting on with their summer jobs. Our recreation team has a renewed focus on the community and are tuned into the importance of a gathering place for youth. Keep your eyes on the town website and the Twitter as more announcements are made. And in the meantime, jump on the U-Link with your musical instruments and travel to the Fleming Center for a little jam session. There's lots of room. And let's not forget our community partners who offer a wide array of youth activities and programming. Sports associations, Scouts, Brownies, 4-H, music camps, the Upper Deck, Convos Youth Zone, and many faith-based youth groups, to mention a few. Let's get linked up for the summer of 2018 and have fun in Lincoln. My final message relates to the incredible demands that our public works staff have experienced this winter keeping our roads safe through their comprehensive road safety and clearing program. I want to thank everyone who has honored the Clear the Streets program so that a more effective and efficient job could be done in all neighborhoods. For those who have suffered the receipt of a parking ticket, well, we hope that you will see your way to complying fully with this program that promotes safe movement of heavy equipment in your neighborhood and improved results in clearing the streets. You likely know that Council sets the budget for clearing the streets, which includes expenses for salt and sand, and also the ice deterrent made out of brine and beet juice. And like most programs, there are adjustments made every year to improve the movement of plows throughout all of our various and distinct communities with a goal of all being treated relatively equally. Never a perfect process, but one we do take seriously. However, everyone must be reasonable, particularly when you have conditions like we were faced with this weekend. Using the input from you, Council ensures that the scope of the plowing contracts and our staffing includes many particulars that are important to you, and it's following that that we set a budget. As I said, the routes are all determined by town staff as they are fully responsible for the operations agenda on every project. Staff report directly to Mr. Kirkopoulos, who is ultimately responsible for ensuring the snow plowing program is effective. He and his team alone are held to account for delivering every program approved by council. It is a relief, for sure, to know that as council, we do not have to become overnight experts on snowplow routes, truck maintenance, or the techniques of pre-treating roads. So the next time you get a bit impatient because you're delayed when winter conditions are terrible and unsafe, please remember there are many people responding to the directions of council on your behalf, but that response must take into account the safety of plow drivers, as well as consideration for plans laid out by the people who are charged with the responsibility to keep our streets clean. And in every case, that is town staff. Many of those staff worked around the clock and did the best to make sure you were safe. Like every municipality around us, we were surprised at the length and duration of the weather incident, but worked to our maximum and to our collective capabilities to get it all done. Maybe not as quick, maybe not as perfect, but definitely I can tell you as the mayor that the level of service we have here in Lincoln is one of the best in the broader region, and we are all proud of that. So thank you to all staff, Mr. Graham and your team, who were involved throughout this winter. Your expertise has been demonstrated on every occasion, and we hope, as you do, that we are at the end of winter. You have been very generous with your attention this evening. Through my time at the beginning of each council meeting, I hope to send a message of consideration for your ideas and involvement in the planning of our community, as well as a sense of achievement in our everyday lives. You are a part of those achievements. Tonight, extra time was necessary to support our neighbors in Saskatchewan, to acknowledge the fine work of Lincoln's community volunteers, to impress once again the daily risk that we face on our local streets and the impact that risk has on the way we can live well in our town, to reinforce the commitment that council has to the youth of Lincoln that includes the reassurance of safe streets, as well as expanded programs and places to gather. Also, the importance of ensuring that we as council understand the division of work between our providing direction to staff and staff expertise alone that implements our directions that are based on your priorities. This is how we do it here in Lincoln. A place to grow, a place to prosper, a place to belong. On behalf of council, have a great week. There is no regional councillor in attendance this evening. We'll move on to council reports, and I'm going to start with Councillor McPherson this evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Brunet.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Councillor Foster. Councillor McMillan.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. In what your remarks this evening, you talked about this being volunteer work week and the tremendous amount of work that is done in our town by a large group of volunteers. There's another group that I would like to recognize tonight, and that is the Municipal Heritage Committee. In our agenda tonight, there is a bylaw that is hopefully will be passed that sets out the designation of the Camden Church as a historical building. And Madam Mayor, this is the fourth designation that has taken place in this term, and it's due in no small way to the excellent work done by this committee of volunteers. So I wanted to have a special thank you to them in this volunteer week. All of the members of that committee for their dedication to their work that they were doing, the research that they do, and just the real dedication they have to the preservation of heritage in Lincoln. So a very special thank you to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So noted. Councillor Pachariva.
Nothing from me, Your Worship.
Councillor Njima.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to speak for a minute about the Transportation Master Plan workshop that we all attended last week. The two things that stuck out most in my mind during that session were safety, which you spoke quite a bit about tonight, and also getting from point A to point B, and in particular our U-Link project. I spoke to our CAO today, and I'm advised that we'll be having a good look at the U-Link pilot project this month. Looking forward to seeing what the ridership numbers are and what the input we've received to date regarding the tweaks and changes that we have to make. It's a work in progress, as we know. It's a pilot, and I know there's a lot of grateful people using that bus. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. All right, we'll move on now to delegations. We have one delegation this evening. And I'd like to call forward Arlene High, who's the Executive Director at Niagara West Adult Learning Center. Arlene's going to provide a presentation and overview of their organization. Who is with you tonight, Arlene?
This is Sunny. She's a student from Holy Trinity School, and she's Blessed Trinity, and she's
Very good.
a volunteer with us.
Thank you. Please have a seat. And would you just make sure that you press the red lights on and move them close to you? So everybody's screen is working?
Animation. Thank you so much for inviting us to present our service here tonight. And I'd also like to thank my staff and some of our board members and supporters who are here. Just wave. I'd like to talk for about 5 minutes and explain our service, and then I have a 4-minute video of one of our clients that you might enjoy. We work hand in hand with the Employment Help Center and use their offices in Grimsby and Smithville when we can to serve the communities that are on the slide. We also used libraries, legions, churches to deliver us various programs wherever we can find a spot. Our main source of funding comes from Employment Ontario, and we look for supplemental funds from the community. Over the past 3 years, we have received funds from the Mayor's Golf Tournament, which was much appreciated, and used to help update our computer lab. We work with adults who usually have less than grade 12 and have been out of the education system for 6 years or more. And we see, also we look at, we work with some clients from Bethesda. Next slide, please. Our center is over 30 years old. We service the rural areas of the Niagara Peninsula. This was a picture of the original site where job finding clubs were held in the basement of the library and the old town hall in Beamsville. Next slide, please. In 1990, the organization became incorporated as the Literacy Council of Lincoln, and clients were tutored in language and math and grammar, and the employment side of the business was growing. Transportation at that time was always a problem for people coming in from the country, and very often staff would drive out to pick up clients and bring them in for service. We can't do that anymore, and with our new U-Link bus, it's helpful. Next slide, please. The center soon outgrew its office space, and through the kindness of the town, the Howard property was offered as a place to house our main office at the corner of Queen and Beam Streets. And that's our current location in Beamsville. And that's where we focus on skills upgrading and family literacy programs for the residents of Niagara West. Next slide, please. The Learning Center provides an enhancement to urban services as well that may be out of reach for some rural residents. So thus the purpose largely is to supplement existing institutions and programs out here and work hand in hand with them in providing services. So we have English as a second language. The Niagara Catholic District School Board pay a teacher to come in daily to teach classes to refugees and newcomers. And the District School Board of Niagara offer regular appointments at our site with the lead consultant in education and career counseling for adult and community ed. She comes out and she does credit testing on the spot in Beamsville, and she can actually assign credits to students and help them to know what their next steps are to get their grade 12. Next slide, please. Our emphasis is mostly on computer literacy right now because it's such a big area and people really need it to bring themselves up to the level that's required in today's world. Our service speaks to enhancing learning, empowering people, and thereby strengthening the communities we serve. So today, with a focus on literacy, we are known as the Niagara West Adult Learning Center, or the Center. Last year, over 986 visits and telephone inquiries combined were made by people needing service. And we were really surprised that people from Virgil were calling us and people from Hamilton and as far as Dunnville. The training that we offer are basic computer and basic Word. We partner with the library to offer this at our site. Tablets and cell phones, we have a grade 10 student from Blessed Trinity who works after school and mostly with seniors to help them bring their skills up to speed and turn the wheel from some old school kind of thinking into 21st century, and that's Sunny. And I hear her encouraging people to use the methods of today. Grade 12 options. We go out to the towns to deliver this information and encourage clients to come to the center for credit testing with the DSBN. Our English as a Second Language programs open to people with landed immigrant status, permanent residents, refugees, someone who might be married to a Canadian citizen or Canadian citizens themselves. The Niagara Catholic District School Board pretty much looks after that program on their own. One-on-one tutoring. We follow the Lawback method. Most of our tutors are retired teachers. Every client's different, so we pretty much leave it up to the teacher to follow that client and see what it is that they need. We do, however, check milestones to make sure that students are progressing, and we report that back to the government, and that helps us get our funding. Community gardens. We partner with the Employment Help Center at our site where people can sign up for a little piece of land to grow their vegetables over the summer. We also have a sharing garden that they maintain to take fresh vegetables to shut-ins or community care. Free books we get from First Book Canada and distribute throughout the area. A lot of these programs were initially set up by Karen Schmidt, who's no longer at our office. She got hired a wonderful job at the region, and we really miss her. However, we're carrying on with all of this good work. We have free income tax services. We have presently today 4 volunteers who come in and do taxes for people to help them if they are on low income and file their return for them. So we're always looking for the need out there and researching options and looking at funding and trying to fill those gaps. Next slide, please. This is a program that we ran. It was called Read, Learn, Grow. It was geared to rural families. Moms and dads attended with their children and sometimes grandpas or grandmas. They learn about such things as interactive reading, do crafts, healthy snacks, moving to music. So in this slide, I think they were doing hokey pokey, put your right foot in. I think the little girl in the red pants has got it. The little guy, he's working on it. Next slide. This is a speech pathologist. She was the head of the Catholic School Board, the head speech pathologist for the Catholic School Board in St. Catharines. We invite her to speak to the moms at the Read, Learn, Grow program to help them with some of the issues and concerns that they might have about their child's language. Next. This is a young mom sharing a book with her child. We found a lot of the moms out in the rural areas didn't even read to their kids. So it was wonderful to see this relationship come about. Next. Sometimes we're stuck for space, but we make it work. This is the class in the hall. It's our pre-employment program, or what's called the wine course, where students learn from experts in the field to operate cash registers, receive smart serve training, safe food handling, and wine pairing. And the Employment Help Center comes in to teach job search skills. Next. We set up cash registers wherever we can find a plug, and this one's in the kitchen. Next. Here's a shot of 2 of our garden plots out behind the property. We have 15 plots, and I think we'll be adding a couple more this year because we're overextended. Next. So why literacy matters? This is one of our clients on graduation day with his tutor of 8 years. After 8 years, he finally got his grade 12 graduation diploma, and he was very proud of it. Didn't want to give up that gown, wanted to hang on to it. Next slide, please. Here's our contact information. I have some cards in my purse, and I guess I have them here. I'll just leave if anybody wants one. And where are we? Next slide. Okay, so the last part of my presentation is a 4-minute video on Patricia, one of our clients, and telling her story.
Somewhere. Yeah, you can't see it, but they can.
That's okay, as long as I can
Crank
see
the
it.
volume.
Yeah.
Well, my mother married somebody that I can't even consider as my stepfather. Treated us like dirt, called us stupid, and we wouldn't amount to anything or wouldn't go anywhere. So I just kind of gave up on everything. I don't even remember my childhood, really. That's how much I blocked it. So I just dropped out of high school, thinking, I wasn't going anywhere. What's the point? When I found out I was pregnant with my first, I completely stopped working, so everything stopped right there, basically. And then I had another child a year and a half after. I was waiting for my children to be old enough to go back to work. And when I did, I've noticed that I wasn't getting jobs, and everybody else that was applying was. And then I just talking to people, they were just telling me that probably because I don't have my grade 12. My mind was blank because I just figured I didn't have, I guess, this is what I'm figuring, is I just figured I didn't have a voice. I didn't know what to say because I was stupid, because that's what I was being told. So I just sat. It was very quiet. I didn't really speak to anybody. I didn't find my voice until like last year, the year before. Really, I didn't know how to have conversations really with anybody. I volunteer at Community Care, and they had a wine course sheet on the counter for people that the contact number was Adult Learning Center. So I went there instead and talked to them about it and told me when the information day was. And then I came back the day of the information, and it just kind of blew from there. I learned that I had a voice and that I'm smart and I do have ideas, and it's amazing because every time they give me a project, I know that they know I can do it, and they're leaving it in my hands to do it. It feels different to me because of how I was raised to feel this. Like I never felt like this before, so it's kind of neat and amazing. It's just to be able to do something that you thought you couldn't do because it's something that you do when you're 18. It would just feel amazing to actually be able to do it. Go to an adult learning center. Go somewhere because they will help you, and you can do it no matter what your age is. I tell them how old I am and how old other people that I know that are there. You're never too old to learn, and you're not stupid. You can do it. I was told I was stupid all my life, that I couldn't do anything. I would amount to nothing. And, well, look at me now. You can't shut me up. And, yeah.
So Patricia got her diploma and she got 2 jobs. So now she's working. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Arlene, there may be questions.
Oh.
Any members of council? Councillor Brunet.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Thank you, Arlene and Sunny, for coming here this evening. Just one question and a couple of comments. You mentioned in your presentation that your organization can no longer pick up families or people that want to come to your programs, and so you mentioned that the ULink has been a big plus for that. You heard Mayor Easton speak this evening as well as Councillor Rinjema. Our ULink has been a pilot project up until now, and right now we're going to be sitting down listening to a lot of people's comments about some tweaks that we can make. So I guess I would say that if you are hearing from any of your program families that the ULink doesn't serve their needs, please reach out to us. Email us here at the town so we can hear those concerns, so we can make sure we adhere to some of those if we can when we're making these changes over the next.
We will do that.
Okay.
And we also get a little bit of money from the government to help people with transportation, but there was never any transportation for them to get. So if there is a fee at some point in time, it might all work out.
Well, right now it's free, so let's take advantage and ride her while we can.
We really encourage
So just wanted to make that comment. If you could pass that along so we can hear your comments. And just thank you for coming. I've seen those plots up there for years and years and years, and quite honestly, I didn't actually know who looked after them. I was pretty sure it wasn't the Masons and pretty sure it wasn't the town, but I didn't know who they were. So thank you for coming tonight. I learned that, and thank you for reminding us we're never too old to learn. Thank you.
We have a master gardener who looks after that.
Thank you.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, both of you, for coming, and how appropriate during Volunteer Week that we get such a great presentation from a great organization like yours. So great to hear all the work you do. Fantastic to see the young people involved and teaching some of us older folks how to navigate around some of the things that we didn't grow up with and are kind of foreign to us, so good for you. And my only question was, I take it you're working, you mentioned refugees, newcomers to Canada, seniors. I expect that you're seeing growth in your demand in your facility. This 986, is that up from previous years?
Absolutely. And we see a lot of seniors coming in.
A lot of seniors, yeah. So just good on you, and whatever we can do to help, support it, because I think the work that you do is very important in our community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Njima.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We know that literacy is empowering and important, and not only makes people feel good about themselves, but it's also good for our economy, especially right now in what we consider the information age and what I like to call the knowledge economy. So thank you very much for what you're doing in our community.
Thank you.
I have a question, Arlene. I'm very pleased that you came tonight. It's very easy as the community grows for organizations to become invisible. And it is very important for you to come. I think when I asked you to come, I wanted to reinforce with you the importance of council. Understood the good that you're doing.
Thank you
The
for
young lady
inviting us.
that's, beg your pardon?
Thank you for inviting us, yes.
I'm very pleased that you came. I know this young woman that was in the video.
Oh, you do, yeah.
And she certainly is a great ambassador for the programs. And I remember when she first came to the program, she's a completely different person now. She has such a wonderful sense of joy in her life, and her success is just really something else to watch.
She had a very good tutor.
Yes, absolutely. So congratulations. I'm interested to know, I was always pleased that you had this working relationship with the library, and how that was working. And there was at one time a connection with homeschooling, and I wondered if that was still part of the program offerings. What has happened with that?
There's nothing
No?
that I know of.
Okay.
I don't know about
All right,
Jill.
it may have been more of an emphasis at the library, Jill? Okay, all right, that's fine. I didn't have that quite right. Thank you very much for coming, and all the best.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you,
Nice to
Sunny.
meet you all.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor McPherson that the presentation by the delegation be received. Your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. We have correspondence this evening. It's on page 22 of the agenda. This is a letter from Dale Robinson, who is the board chair of the District School Board of Niagara, requesting support of a Committee of Adjustments decision to approve a minor variance and consent application to facilitate the development of a secondary school in West Lincoln. I'm going to ask Mr. Kirkopoulos to speak to this letter.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to give committee a brief overview, we've been asked through the ongoing conversations and partnerships we have with the District School Board of Niagara, as you highlighted, to receive this correspondence from the board chair and to, by virtue of accepting it, show our support for it. There's nothing new necessarily within this letter. It really goes through the process that the school board went through to acquire the potential site for the new school. And I think, as the last paragraph highlights, given the high priority of this project and the ongoing conversations and discussions we're having with the province on the various aspects of this project, that they'll be going to all the municipalities and the region, respectfully requesting support of the decision. Again, just to continue to show that this is an ideal site, an important site, and an important asset as they look at building a school here in West Niagara.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions to Mr. Kirkopoulos? I'm going to read the motion. I have a motion moved by Councillor McMillan and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that correspondence from Dale Robinson, District School Board of Niagara, dated April 4th, 2018, regarding supportive Committee of Adjustments decision to approve a minor variance and consent application to facilitate the development of a secondary school be received, and that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Lincoln supports the decision. Are there any questions to the motion? Councillor Foster.
There should be no action taken within this. It should be just received this evening. that's a planning issue, and it doesn't get decided at the council table, so.
Okay, just one moment. Madam Clerk?
Yep, let me just have a look at that motion.
All right. All right, that's fine. Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Brunei.
I was going to go down those similar lines, that I appreciate the fact that we're being asked through the DSBN, because of the Town of Lincoln's Committee of Adjustment, approval of the minor variance. But beyond that, I was going to say I don't think this is really an issue for this council. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll pass this over to the movers and seconder. You can put a line through the bottom and receive the document. Yes, it'll come back then.
Madam Mayor, with this final statement being taken out, does that mean that we are just receiving it?
We're just receiving
And we're
it.
taking no action on it at all? Will we not let the school board know that we do support them in what they're asking?
I'm going to ask Mr. Kirkopoulos to answer that because he's in the discussions with them.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Councillor, I mean, the request was that we demonstrate our support for the direction that the school board is going. In some ways, I think it is semantics, and if we receive it, I think by virtue of receipt, we can make sure that that's clear that we've received it, and that speaks for itself in terms of the support council has for the decision versus that last line that speaks to approval of the particular letter. I think receipt of the letter means it becomes part of our official documents, and by virtue of that, we're demonstrating the type of support we're able to demonstrate at this particular point in time. And I'll make sure that I reiterate that in that fashion.
So, Madam Mayor, the support that we would want to show to the school board then will come when the information on the Committee of Adjustment comes to the Planning Committee, and then those minutes come to council, so the support will come at that particular time then.
Yes.
Okay? Then that's fine. I don't have any problem with seeking this out.
And in the meantime, I don't think there's any,
No, but I think it's important that the school board knows that we are behind them in what they want.
thank you. Would you like me to read this again? Anyone? No. All right. Your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. All right, thank you for that. And we also have a letter of endorsement for Niagara's collective submission to the Infrastructure Canada 2018 Smart Cities Challenge competition. I'd like to call on Dr. Valerie Yeager to speak to this issue, and then we have a motion. John, you're participating as well. You're not just there making sure everything works. Who's going to speak first?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I will start, if that's fine. And first off, since this is the first time I'm speaking to council, I do actually want to say that it is an absolute pleasure to be here. And I want to really thank the mayor and the CAO for giving me this opportunity to participate in your journey of growing, prospering, and belonging, which brings me to Niagara's submission, hopefully. So you have in your agenda packages, I believe, a letter, which if it's the pleasure of council, the mayor will sign on behalf of the town of Lincoln, and it will be affixed with the signatures of all 12 mayors in the Niagara region to send to Infrastructure Canada. The Smart Cities Challenge competition is a cross-Canada competition in 3 categories. The largest prize of $50 million is open to all communities. The second prize of $10 million is open to communities of under 500,000, and it is in this category that Niagara is aiming to put in a submission. I should say at this point that Infrastructure Canada is the one that decided that according to them, Niagara is Niagara. Right? So in their view, it encompasses all 12 municipalities of Niagara. On the other hand, they do recognize and have signaled to us that the receipt of an application which had the support of all 12 mayors would itself be considered a very significant achievement. The specific ask at this time is not for any FTEs or any funds associated with this application. It is really more an acknowledgement that the town of Lincoln is not submitting its own separate application to this process. There have been a number of people working on this. John is certainly one, Paul Diani, also from the town. Many people from school boards, Brock, Niagara College, NGOs, the police. I will say that Lincoln is well represented municipally, but all municipalities have worked on this. So the first thing we had to come up with was the smart cities want you to solve a problem. They want you to meet a challenge, a societal challenge that is meaningful for your community. And after many, many discussions and suggestions, the group decided that something that was meaningful for all municipalities across Niagara, in fact, I would say across the world, is the importance of a sense of belonging of their residents and citizens to their local community. And I think, Madam Mayor, almost everything you said today, in one way or another, related to that, whether it's a question of public safety or the wonderful presentation we had from the volunteers and the Adult Learning Center. What they're working towards is people should, if you want to be safe, if you want to feel you belong, you have to be safe. And if you want to belong in a community and feel you do, you want to be part of it, as the lady said, Patricia said, to have a voice. So these are the kind of problems or challenges that a smart cities approach. And what's meant by that is the very creative use of technology to see our world a little bit differently and to forge connections that we wouldn't otherwise be able to forge. And why is sense of belonging important? It's very important because if we measure it, we know that communities that have a lot of it are healthier, safer, their economies are more vibrant, and their citizens are more philanthropic. And I don't know if one can ask for much of that. The sense of belonging is actually measured every 2 years in the Canadian Community Health Survey. The most recent version of that gave Niagara as a whole a sense of belonging that was rated very strong or strong by residents at 72%. And I'm happy to say that the town of Lincoln's rating is a little bit higher than that, close to 74%. And that was before you embarked on it as a place to belong. Our aim is to move that to 88%, which is the highest one ever recorded in a Canadian community. So I figure if somebody did it in Canada, then we should probably give it a good try. So that's the major themes. I'm happy to talk to that a little bit more. But John is here from the IT side in terms of what possible technological things might we think of. I should also say that in addition to the grand prize, final prize of $10 million, 5 areas in each category will be awarded $250,000 to run pilots or to take this project to the next level. And we are actually very, what should I say, cautiously optimistic or optimistically cautious that Niagara will be able to get one of those. So with your permission, Madam Mayor, I'll pass it on to John.
Pleased to have you at the table, and go ahead.
Great, thanks, Madam Mayor. So when we make this submission, not only do we have to have a problem we're trying to solve, we have to come up with potential solutions for technology that could help us achieve our goals. So I've got a list of a few of the ideas. There are much more, but these are some of the more interesting ones we've developed. Now, we've developed these ideas through the Smart Cities team. That's the municipal employees, the school boards, and everybody else who's participated at the table. We've also engaged the citizens at large through social media campaigns and local events to gather as many potential ideas as possible. And these are some of the forerunners that we're going to start to suss out and start to pick some of the few projects that we're going to submit with our submission. One of our major themes is support for broadband in rural environments. It's really hard to feel like you belong to a community in 2018 when you're still on dial-up or satellite internet or something of the sort. With some really interesting pilot in St. Catharines around smart kiosks and smart benches. These are some wayfinding signage, some Wi-Fi that are attached to events where people tend to congregate. It helps people with wayfinding, and there's Wi-Fi attached to them. And there's a fun spin where some of them are powered either by solar or they're powered by exercise bikes, where you're giving your energy to the community, who can then use it back again to charge devices or small stuff like that.
That was my bit from the public health center.
Let's get some more exercise. We can certainly all use it. We talked around, unmanned libraries. These are libraries that function through RFID. These are for very small communities who aren't quite big enough to have a manned library. You can go in and take resources out or bring resources back without having to have somebody working at the counter. We talked about wearables. These are devices that are attached to watches. Now, they're fun to have, but they have some really fun applications around safety and security, and some healthcare applications for those that are in home care. You can actually monitor quite a bit of somebody's vitals without having to check on them as often, which is really interesting technology. We'd like to develop Rideshare Niagara a little bit more. It's kind of like an Uber, but for commuters. So if you're going to a certain location, you can meet other people from the area that are also traveling. That kind of helps us with the transportation initiatives that we're looking for. Development of the BEN program. I'm not sure if anybody's heard this from the region. This is Building Employment Networks Niagara. This is a kind of a homegrown website that's dedicated to helping those that are underemployed or unemployed to find work. And it goes one step further, where it offers them the resources to be able to further educate themselves or gain skills that would help them be more employable. We'd also like to expand that into the same program, but for volunteering. That matches up those that are interested in volunteering for a community group that don't happen to know what group they'd like to volunteer for, and let groups put their information out there that they're looking for people to volunteer with them. We also talked a lot about hubs. We talked about mobile hubs. Like this would be a portable Wi-Fi type area where we can get messages out and get Wi-Fi at places where people congregate. So we would go out to events or go out to any sort of event where a lot of people are located. Innovation hubs, hotspot hubs. We also did a lot of investigation into telework. There's a lot of jobs available for those that are well connected, and we don't necessarily have great connections in all of our smaller areas. So if there's a space that we could rent out an individual workstation that's well connected, or we could have several small companies occupying one space, we get those areas well connected. That allows people to telecommute if they don't exactly have the broadband services that they require at their house. Some more investigations done into digital identity. This is us, instead of giving somebody a plastic ID, possibly for those with no fixed addresses, we could actually do biometrics, which means that your identity is your fingerprint or your retina scan or something a little bit more advanced than a hunk of plastic you may not have a place to secure. Robot readiness kind of seems futuristic, but there's a lot of healthcare applications to understanding how people interact with robotics. That isn't necessarily a full-size robot or anything, but the types of devices that could be interacted with for remote assistance. And gamification, something we've discussed a lot. This is our Pokemon Go. Everybody knows this application. It exists. It takes really boring Google Maps and turns it into a really fun and interactive event. So we could take some of the data we're already generating, make that available to the public, and they can use that to make really fun games that people can play and use our data more effectively. If anyone around the table, if any of our guests in the gallery or anybody watching at home has any suggestion, my contact information is on the website, and I'd love to take all of the suggestions or any ideas people might have to our next meeting, which happens Thursday afternoon. So I definitely encourage the citizenry at large to participate if any ideas they might have. Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else? Dr.
Just if there's any questions, Madam Mayor.
Yes. Councillor Foster.
Thank you very much. Good presentation. I like some of the ideas and where things are going. As you know, I was chairing the AMO committee on the digital world within the province, and very interesting what areas of the province are doing and how they're doing it type of thing. And the ideas that are laid out here are really cool. I think one thing that has to be kept in mind, and I'm hoping the committees as they're talking about it, is that it really does need to be a private-public partnership to go down the road with these things. It's foolish on our end of things as municipal governments to think that we're experts on everything, but the reality is that the private sector has some superb opportunities to have them step in. I use Guelph as the example. They basically laid out to the community, here's where we want to go, come to us with your ideas to make this happen and move forward. So anyway, I'm going to be totally fascinated where this is going and how it goes forward, as is right up my alleyway. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? Councillor Brunet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No questions, just John, kudos to you and Paul Danny, and all those others that are getting involved in this initiative. And you guys have busy careers already, so getting involved and putting your fingerprint on this, thanks for your time. Dr. Yeager, I think this is the third time I've had the luxury of and the privilege to hear you speak, and you are such a resource. And I don't know how we managed to get you in this position, but kudos to whoever is responsible for this, because you just seem to be so eager to jump in, the assisting with what you're doing with the mayors and the municipalities, and the work with the Hamilton Health Sciences, and the work for West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, just great work. And so I know if you're involved in this collective submission and this initiative, it'll be successful. So thank you very much for your help.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Yes, I must say, when you have Dr. Yeager on your team and you're dealing with something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, she certainly has you moved up to the top of the list pretty quick. So we're very grateful. Thank you.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. In answer to perhaps a little bit, Councillor Foster, if I may, through you, and
Yes.
then
Yes.
Councillor Brunet. You're absolutely right in terms of the leadership and comments through AMO and Guelph. At this stage in the application, 75% of the marks are on the problem and how you're going to measure it, what metrics you're going to use, how are you going to follow those, evidence that it can be done in terms of metrics, that these kind of things exist, and 25% on the technical solutions. That's at this current phase. Certainly for the next phase, if you get the 250,000, and certainly according to IT at the region, and John can speak to this, every major telecommunications group has already been talking and offering services, for sure. So absolutely. No, I mean, I'm a Luddite. I'm very good at turning on and off, and that's about it, and John is way more. But it's what I call the fourth quadrant of knowledge. You don't even know what you don't know, and that's where the exciting things happen. So absolutely, I'm totally with you there. Councillor Brunet, if I might, the coming here had something to do with volunteering at a mayor's golf tournament, so or chair's golf tournament, as I perhaps recall. Anyway, it's a long story, but it had a very good outcome. Thank you very much for your kind remarks. Yeah.
Councillor Foster.
And I think sense of belonging is a risk. Choosing it is a little bit. It's not like, oh, we're going to take the number of ambulance rides, right? But in preliminary discussions, we're very optimistic. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And it's great. I'm very pleased, John, that you're involved in that, Paul, as well. It's good for us.
Yeah.
Councillor Foster.
Just one final comment. My daytime job, I work for Life Labs, and so I had an opportunity to talk to some of the people in your public health area back some time ago, and there's other areas when you're looking, and I know you're going to volunteer for more things in the future as you're going on, but this ability to go and combine information with companies such as ours versus what's going on within hospitals versus what's within the public health realm, I mean, there is such a vast array of data that we really have to be making use of in the future. If we don't, we're very foolish. So anyway, thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, I can share this because it's now in the public realm, but a few years ago, there was a hepatitis A outbreak, which was actually traced to raspberries. But Costco could tell us by name who had purchased raspberries because their cash register records were that accurate. So, and they actually did all the contacting for us because they couldn't release us the name, but they did the contact. So absolutely.
Thank you very much. Excellent. And I have a report here moved by Councillor Brunet and seconded by Councillor Foster that the overview regarding a letter of endorsement for Niagara's collective submission to the Infrastructure Canada 2018 Smart Cities Challenge competition be received, and that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Lincoln approves the endorsement of the letter on behalf of the Town of Lincoln. Any questions to the motion? Your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. Thank you very much, Dr. Yeager and John. Now, we'll move on to reports. And we have first the Planning and Development Committee minutes of April 9th, 2018. Councillor McPherson, as the Deputy Chair, you're reporting this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and on behalf of Councillor Thompson, who is in a much warmer place than we are tonight, I am pleased to give you the Planning Committee highlights. So the following are the highlights regarding the Town of Lincoln Planning Committee meeting held on April 9th, 2018 here at Council Chambers. Full details regarding the meeting can be found in the agenda and minutes published on the town's website. Excuse me. So we had a very full house that evening. Committee first received 3 delegations, being the President and Vice President of Victoria Shores Homeowners Association and also a representative from IBI Group with regards to PL 18-19. And 2 delegations for PL 18-20. So committee then dealt with the 7 draft or staff reports addressing matters including the very lengthy and public process that we have gone through to be happy to receive PL 18-19, the final draft of the Prudhoe Secondary Plan. We also received PL-18-20, which is with noise bylaw exemption application of Redstone Winery. And in that, we were informed of the summer series that Redstone Winery has planned. PL 18-21, request for consideration of a minor variance application by Phelps Homes. PL 18-22, Camden Estates subdivision agreement by 222-5966 Ontario Inc. And PL 18-23, enforcement of the residential rental maintenance standards. PL 18-24, Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, mapping the proposed regional natural heritage system for the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. And finally, PL 18-25, status of active residential developments. So we had a very fulsome meeting that night, finished off about 9 p.m. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I have a motion moved by Councillor McPherson and seconded by Councillor Foster that the minutes of the April 9th, 2018 Planning Committee be adopted as circulated. Are there any questions to the motion? Councillor Foster.
Not to the motion, but to the reports, and just a question to the CAO. The motion, when we approved the Prudhoe Secondary Plan, also included a an item around staffing that is needed during that, which I think is hugely positive. We've talked about this many times in the past, but could the CAO just give us a brief overview of what the plan is with that staff member, just so that we're all aware of that?
Mr. Kirkopoulos, if you will.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Foster. The councillor's correct in that I think over the last number of months, probably dating back to the beginning of this process, we've always talked about ensuring that without impacting the levy and without having a levy impact, that we would use the associated fees that we would be collecting as a result of the Prudhomme's development and use those to hire the appropriate staff, whether that be 1 staff, whether that be 1.5 staff, 2 staff, whatever the appropriate skill sets required at the appropriate time. And so we've included that in the report, and we'll be looking at the appropriate timing of that depending on when the developers and the property owners actually come in and site plan is achieved and the works that need to take place. Just earlier today, Mr. Bruder and Director Graham and I had a brief conversation on just some of the servicing schedules as we piggybacked on another meeting that we were having. And so we're definitely going to be looking at when is the right time to do those. But I'd reinforce no levy impact with any of those temporary resources as we have applications coming in and we need to up resource.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you through you, Madam Mayor. This is really good, and we've talked about this for a number of years as we've been seeing, major developments coming online. And let's face it, Prudhomme's development is probably the largest development this municipality has ever undertaken at one particular point in time. So it has to be properly resourced, and I really like the way that that's going to be done. Thank you.
Absolutely agree with you. Thank you very much, Councillor. Any other questions? All right, your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. We have no confirmation of compliance with Section 34 of the Planning Act this evening. We've already dealt with that one. Ah, yes. We have another motion here to go along with Infrastructure Committee. All right, I have a motion, CS 18-03, moved by Councillor Njima and seconded by Councillor McMillan, that report CS 18-03 regarding amendment to municipal sign bylaw 02-24 be received, and that council approve the amendment of section 6.1 from the sign bylaw 02-24, which is attached as Appendix A, and adds supporting reference to applicable current legislation, which is attached as Schedule D to this report. And I'll ask Madam Clerk to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. So this report is brought on with the changes under the Municipal Elections Act, and upon reviewing our sign bylaw for public property, there was some wording that was in conflict with the bylaw itself. And with the changes brought on under the Municipal Elections Act, we thought to amend it so it would get us through this election. The alternative recommendation in the report is that we adopt this amendment to the sign bylaw 02-24 and take a further look in 2019 if you want to make an election sign bylaw standalone to make it clearer for the public, as well as outlining the Elections Act and what the sign bylaw really means. Do you have any questions?
All right, any questions? Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not a question, but a suggestion that if we do pass this, that we have some kind of notification that we hand to new candidates as they are signing up, because there's some pretty significant fines here that if you're putting your sign in the wrong place, you could be paying. So just a suggestion that we have some kind of document that outlines where signs cannot go for these new candidates, and for some of us old ones, too.
So just to outline, thank you, Councillor. The fees don't change. The fees are what they are. So I'm not adding any new fees to this. The fees are within what the bylaw states. Also, the information that we pass tonight will be included in all candidates' packages as of May 1st. This will be thoroughly explained to the candidates as of May 1st.
Any other questions? Nothing? Your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. We have 5 bylaws this evening. I have a motion moved by Councillor McMillan and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that leave be given to introduce the following bylaw, number 2018-25, to designate the property known municipally as 4170 Fly Road, Camden, as being a piece of architectural, historical, and/or contextual value or interest. Number 2018-26, to adopt official plan amendment number 3, Prudhoe Secondary Plan. Number 2018-27, to authorize a subdivision agreement with 2225966 Ontario, Inc. Number 2018-28, to authorize the execution of an agreement with Agribur Ontario, Inc. And number 2018-29, to amend bylaw number 02-24, being a bylaw to regulate posters and signs on public property and road allowances. Are there any questions? Councillor Njima.
Madam Mayor, can I ask that the second bylaw be voted on separately because I won't be voting
Yes, yes.
pursuant to my declaration declared earlier on this evening?
Yes,
Thank you.
we can do that. Anyone else, any questions at all? Then I'll call for the motion with the exception of number 2018-26, and we'll deal with it separately. Your pleasure on the balance. The motion is carried. So I'm going to mark this as 1. And mark this as 2. Okay. I have a motion moved by Councillor McMillan and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that bylaw number 2018-26 to adopt official plan amendment number 3, Prudhoe Secondary Plan, be introduced be introduced. Your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. Okay. All right. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor McMillan that bylaws number 2018-25 and 2018-27, 2018-28, and 2018-29 read a first time, be now read a second and third time, and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign this and seal the said bylaw. Pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor McMillan that bylaw number 2018-26 be now read a second and third, read a first time, be now read a second and third time, and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. you. Are there any councillor inquiries? There being none, is there any notice of motion? There being none, are there any announcements? Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of announcements. We will be hosting the monthly BIA meeting this Thursday, April 19th, 12 noon at the Conversations Cafe, and also through the efforts of our BIA Executive Director, Stephanie Hicks, we now have a fourth and a fifth executive board member that has joined the BIA, so we are now a full board as of this coming Thursday. So after a very, very long road, very pleased that we've got members of the BIA coming out and establishing the executive, and that we're off and running. I also like to announce the the grand opening at the Yoga Vine, corner of King Street and Central in downtown Beamsville, this coming Saturday, April 21st from 2 to 5, and this is a really nice ad helping us in our efforts to build a more vibrant downtown. So a couple of nice announcements there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Very good work, Councillor, and to the whole team on the BIA. That's very gratifying. I think that was a very long road when you and Councillor Pachariva started out. Looking better now. There is no closed session this evening. I have a motion. My apologies. My apologies, Councillor.
Why don't I, your
I
worship?
looked your way and I didn't.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. And I wanted to bring this up at the last council meeting, but I forgot my information outside. So just wanted to let everyone know that the second annual Every Bowl Full fundraising dinner to support Community Care of West Niagara will be held on Thursday, May 10th, 2018 at 6 p.m. It's taking place at the Inn on the 20 Windows Banquet Room, Jordan Village. There'll be an exquisite three-course dinner prepared by Executive Chef Jason Williams, silent auction, raffle and door prizes, live background music during dinner, music also by our very own Jasmine Tea Duo during cocktail hour. The keynote speaker will be Lori Nickel, Executive Director of foodrescue.ca and the Director of Programs and Partnerships of Second Harvest. Tickets are $100, and there's a $25 charitable tax receipt. They're available at Community Care of West Niagara, Meridian Credit Union in Beamsville and Vineland, and yours truly has some to sell. So if any member of council, staff, member at home, people developing in the town need them, you know where to come.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I'm not too sure who's representing the town. I'm not able to attend that evening, but one of the councillors will be there on behalf of the town. And Councillor Njima.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a few announcements from the Chamber. Wednesday, April 25th at Rockway Vineyards is Madam Mayor's luncheon from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Enjoy a delicious lunch at Rockway Vineyards and hear more about the future of Lincoln from Madam Mayor Sandra Easton. So get your tickets on lincolnchamberofcommerce.ca. Also, there's a business after 5 being held Thursday, May 17th. That's May 17th, from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and that's at 50 Point Marina. And that's being held by the chambers of Lincoln, West Lincoln, and Grimsby together. So it's a joint business after 5. Again, you can get your ticket, or actually, that's free. So you can register, I think, for that at lincolnchamberofcommerce.ca or get more information on that. And again, I'm going to tell you that the 7th Annual Mayor's Golf Classic, Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018, from 10:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's still sponsorship opportunities. Get more information at lincolnchamberofcommerce.ca.
Thank you very much. I attended the breakfast and last week, and it was a whole new sea of faces. There just seems to be this incredible enthusiasm out there in the business community, so it was very good. some very interesting businesses coming to town. All right, we have no closed session this evening. I have a motion moved by Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Brunet, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaw, number 2018-30, to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by council resolution. Your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. And I have a motion moved by Councillor McMillan and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that bylaws number 2018-30, read a first time, be now read a second and third time, and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. Ladies and gentlemen, there being no further business, I declare this meeting of the Town of Lincoln Council adjourned.